Our lists get so big that it just feels like, oh my God, I got so much to do. I got so much to do. There's no clarity in the things to do. Difficult to go pick one and go with it, because that's where procrastination enters the scene. All right, you have a lot to do, but what's on Instagram? Most successful people that I know, hard workers with a great work ethic, they're chasing big, hairy, audacious goals that inspire them. And they have to show up every day for it, because otherwise these big goals won't be done. Those systems that software companies have is what we need to implement in our day-to-day, in our year-to-year, month-to-month. Because we have massive goals just like they do. How do we manage large projects? That's how I figured out a system that works. Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Raf, and this is my co-host, Sahir, the engineer. What's good, bro?
Chillin', man. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Man, excuse me. Just life's been mad full. I feel like just the few conversations I get to have with you, they're in between the little windows I get, to be on the phone.
Right.
It had me thinking, though, we just have so much going on. Both of us have kids. We want to be present for our kids. Mm-hmm. But we also got this level of ambition. We got various goals, personal ones. Do you ever feel the days just getting away from you?
Yeah.
Escaping you?
Right. Yeah, I feel that all the time,
Okay.
It does feel like there is some limits on time, and that increases urgency, which is very useful. But then at the same time, sometimes it can make me feel rushed, which is not useful.
No.
Yeah, so there's a balance between urgency and being rushed into everything and being in a hurry. Being hurried versus being urgent, so different. And we gotta be urgent and less hurried, because everything will fall into place. There's that famous Chinese quote that I like to remind myself. Nature doesn't hurry, but everything is accomplished. It's I try to embody that, but it's difficult. Sometimes you're rushed, you're in a hurry to get everything fucking done so that you can go hang out with your kid or do the next thing on the list. It's been difficult. How about you?
No, man, that's been the crux of my progress right now, has been how to manage this. It feels like you're on those moving walkways at the airport, because you were used to this regular stroll, this regular pace. But now all of a sudden, I don't know if it's because of having kids or if it's because I have a clearer vision as to how I want to use my time and utilize my time and where I want to put it.
Right.
That I feel like I'm on this moving walkway now and I'm still walking at the same pace. You know how that feels?
Yeah.
Right? Everything's rushing by you. Everything's moving by you at a rate that, if you don't know what's coming ahead, you'll miss it entirely.
Right.
And that's where I am right now, where I'm just trying to every day, more and more plot out what's ahead so I can see it, and just so it doesn't feel like I'm being hurried past, things to pay attention to. And in that time, I might not execute as well. I might totally forget things. It's not a good place to be in, so right now I'm addressing that part of my life more than anything else is time management.
Yeah, and oftentimes our lists get so big that it just feels like, oh my God, I got so much to do. And then it's but it's not, there's no clarity in the things to do, and the prioritization might not be there. So which makes it more difficult to go pick one and go with it, because that's where procrastination enters the scene. It's all right, you have a lot to do, but what's on Instagram? That's the problem, and I think we all face that, and I've had to face that a lot, over the years. Obviously, I still face it every day, but it's I think the shift happened for me when I started working at software companies at at my tech jobs. And later on we had our own tech consultancy, so I directly got to see what a lot of software companies are doing. Because have you ever wondered why these software companies like come out with these app updates and new phones every year, new like app updates continuously,
all the time,
always improving. Like Gmail's been recently updating their login screen and things like that. It's like there's always a new thing with like software. They're always. It's not like back in the day, like in the 90s or something. Like you get a device, a VCR, and use it for a number of years.
Sure, yeah.
They didn't come up with new VCRs every fucking year. I don't think so.
Right. No, they didn't.
They just had like the prime. The Sony had their ones, and Panasonic and the others had their ones, and they were pushing that for a few years, and then a new upgrade. Now it's like.
Now it's almost every few months something new is out.
Yeah.
No, you didn't iterate on hardware. And like that technology was pretty, what do you call it? It was over a sustained amount of time, Now the tech changes.
Yeah.
There's somebody innovating somewhere in some corner, figuring out the next thing. And you got to keep up.
Yeah. And, I always wondered, like, how do these software companies freaking do this?
Wow.
Like, obviously they have a lot more people, but what's surprising is that it's not that they have more people. It helps to have a bunch of people working on one problem, but like it's not just the people, because like a lot of people working in corporate jobs don't necessarily put in like 17 hours every day, to create something. Like that's why Twitter or like X could get rid of like 80% of their employees and just keep 20 and be like, we'll run on 20. We'll
run on 20.
Like, that's because 80% was kind of like wasting time.
Oh, damn.
They weren't like doing the shit that they were expected to do.
Yeah. I mean, have you been on X recently?
I have.
Okay. To me personally, it's taken a severe downgrade in terms of quality control.
Absolutely.
And everybody being in some kind of bot or another. So I do believe now, while it may not needed that full 80%, maybe we could bring 40% back,
right?
To do some work here. But anyway, that's a different conversation.
No, that makes sense, and that's where manpower helps, right? Like if you have more people on the problem, you probably get everything done faster. It's better.
Sure.
But then, like in reality, also, it doesn't mean every person in a company, in a software company, is like putting in the hours like they're expected to. Every day. Like on average, people are. If they're smart, they're spending like 4 to 5 hours at their work. And then the rest of it is just like meetings or hanging around or lunch, like
company culture.
Yeah, it's just culture,
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so like, but how do they do it? They still churn out fucking product and like new shit for us all the time.
Sure.
It's because of their systems. Their systems are like so tight that like even the worst performers are doing a better job than like not doing anything.
Your average Joe. Sure.
Yeah. Their worst guys are like doing a good job, just because there's systems in place that is like empowering people to do more work or empowering people to get the problem solved, empowering people to show up. These systems work. And when I saw that, I was like, dude, I told my wife, I was like, dude, this is what we need in our personal lives. Like those systems that software companies have. Is what we need to implement in our day-to-day, in our year-to-year, month-to-month. Because like we have massive goals just like they do.
Sure.
So like if we implement it, it's way better,
Sure.
That was like the beginnings of like project management, and I got like really interested in like how do we manage projects, like large projects, break that down. And that's how I figured out like a system that works, I was also lucky that like during the time when I was working at like a corporate job and like working with IT companies, I was lucky that at that same time I was also building a music brand online, and we had teams. I had to work. I was on the creative side, but like I had to manage a bunch of people like who are, putting out content, editing videos, writing articles, reaching out to artists. All that
web design,
and like keeping up the social medias and the websites all up every single day with fresh new things, all the time.
Damn.
And so I was able to like take what I learned in that corporate IT, tech side into this startup,
Sure.
And like get results in this manner, but fell a lot of times, crashed a lot of times. And
Sure.
a lot of times I lacked leadership, even. So, but these were the things that taught me so many lessons that I'm able to implement today, and like.
Which make you a leader now.
Yes, I think it's putting me in a better position today because of all those trial and errors.
Sure.
It was fun thinking like, okay, go to my corporate job, not wanting to do that, but then going like, how are they doing this? How do they have all these things? A tangible example of that is like, there was a time like in my early 20s, I would sometimes be in the music brand that we were building. Sometimes I had missed certain meetings. Sometimes I was late to meetings. Sometimes not realizing like, it's meeting time. Let's join the thing now,
Sure.
But then also other times like not being prepared in the meetings, where it's like I'm expected to talk to a bunch of editors about content this week, but I didn't have it planned in my head yet, or like in my notebook yet. Like, what are we working on?
You were just freestaling.
Yeah, that's like you kind of freestyle
like
and get the results.
Kid usually does.
Right.
Like,
that was a tangible problem at the time, but in my corporate job, I noticed that like I'm always showing up to the meetings. I'm always like preparing for the meetings, and not only preparing when I have to talk in a particular meeting about something, I have it written down, like bullet points written down, so I can like refer to it while I'm in the meeting. And then, so I was like, why the fuck is it different? Like one is a dream and one is...
It's me.
Yeah, what's going on?
That's it. That's the only difference here. The difference maker is me. Because I'm taking one for real and one as a dream. And it's like...
But then what was happening is that the corporate culture had more systems in place that you couldn't maneuver against or go outside of.
Sure.
Rules, certain things that are already in place and everybody's following it, In the startup that we were building, it's on us to build that culture, on us, the leaders, to like put these in place.
Right.
But we didn't have all the systems, it's hard to like have everything.
No, it's just a startup. You're still figuring things out
exactly
in real time.
Yeah.
You're playing with live ammo. Like
absolutely.
When you were at a startup, it's that sort of cavalier, mindset that you need to have in order to push past that, I think, though. Like, I don't think it's misplaced at all, but I think it takes time to put these systems in place. I don't think Apple started out the gate, right, with this stuff. It's just as you scale, right, then you can start to implement certain systems. But I think these personal ones that you're talking about, like I'm sure you can customize, take bits and pieces of what you're learning and now apply it on a personal level. I think that's where the key is.
Right. Yeah. And it's like these large corporations have very specific systems because it's so large, and everybody has to follow the same cadence, And so obviously theirs is like more stringent and more, unbreakable, and ours can be a little more flexible and a little more malleable.
Sure.
It makes sense, and that's what I started doing, after learning from these people. It was just like, I need to implement that in my startup, any brand, any company that I'm doing needs to be like this, like these big Fortune 500 companies are doing. And then also implement that in my own personal life. That way, like I can compete like in the world that we're in, like I don't want to be like just some regular Joe, I want to compete with the Fortune 500,
It's because you have this ambition.
Yeah. And so how do I do it? I can repeat them. I can model them. I can see what they're doing and apply it in my life, and that's the beginning of this whole project management journey, because I've always had all these repeated like projects, in my life. It was always like working on something and then a few other things, like backup things.
There's always a platter of things.
Well said. Platter of things always, So it became useful.
Okay.
And one example, as I was saying, like in my personal life, I was missing meetings, and then in the corporate, I wasn't, right? So then I realized that the systems that they had was that one of the things was that they broke down their whole year into quarters, 4 quarters, makes sense.
Yeah.
Each quarter has 3 months. They have that all broken down, and then 3 months, right? Like, so, and then each month has 4 weeks.
Yes.
So they would go on these like 2-week sprints. They would basically plan the next 2 weeks out and then work on all those things that they planned for those 2 weeks. Only those things, nothing else. And then those 2 weeks end and they go into the next 2-week sprint, you know? And so each of these 2-week sprints have more systems in them. So they have like a daily meeting, a daily quick catch up, you know, a 15-minute scrum in the morning, quick catch up. And then they have like meetings midweek in these 2-week periods. And then at the end, there's a retrospective where they review how these 2 weeks went. And then there's also other meetings sprinkled in, meetings for to plan the next 2 weeks, you know. It's all just meetings already on your calendar. And you kind of have to show up because you got to show up every day for 15 minutes to discuss with your team what's on your plate and what's up, you know. This little system itself is why I was showing up to those meetings and not the ones in my personal life, in my business, you know, in my startup. And it's because, like, we didn't break it down into 2 weeks. We didn't break it down into monthly.
It wasn't a system.
Yeah, it wasn't a system like that, you know. And the meetings that we had was far less cadence. It was like once a week or once every 2 weeks. Once a week. It was once a week. And with different teams, it's once a week. So it's things like that. But then if you have like a daily accountability, like 15 minutes every day that you got to talk to somebody, then you're probably getting the things done. You know, you're not waiting for the once a week meeting to plan things. You know, you're kind of doing it every day, you know, and then that once a week meeting shows up and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I have things for you guys. You know, like it's a little different, you know, and those systems just told me that, oh, okay, this is why even like the worst performing employees at a large corporation are still putting in effort, are still doing the work. You know, it's like the systems are making them be more productive. You know, you can't really be lazy if you have to talk to some people in your team every day for 15 minutes at least. If that's the only meeting you have and nothing else even, you know, like even still, you'd have to be productive for that meeting. You got to say something, you know, you can't be like a little quiet ass.
No,
you know?
you're how you are perceived amongst your team is going to be dependent on how you do in these meetings, how you show up and how you check in, what you check in with.
And even if you just check in with like, yo, yeah, I was just, you know, I was working on this stuff, but then, hey, how about that game last night? You know, even if you talked about not even your project, but like mentioned a little bit and then moved into the game last night or the movie you saw, even if it was just that type of a check-in, you're still more productive because you're still getting ready for that 15 minutes. You know, you're just like, you know, you're in the mindset, you know?
Sure, that we have a meeting.
Yeah.
We have an appointment.
Exactly. And like, how many people have that type of a check-in every single day?
No, not many. I never did. No. Honestly, no.
And most people have, a majority of the people in the world and have New Year goals for the year, and then 0 check-ins until next year. There's no in the middle, how's the goals going? You know, January 1st, you set this up. How's it going? No, I don't know. There's nothing like that, you know, but like imagine if you had a check-in every day. Yeah, you didn't, how's your goal going? I didn't really start it. Oh, okay, you didn't start it? It's okay. You can start soon. All right. And then check in every day, or every week, or every few days. Like if that type of a check-in you have on your goals, you don't have a choice but to do it.
But to show up.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
You don't have a choice, bro. You got to do it.
Makes sense. Right.
So, yeah. These check-ins, multiple check-ins is like a system that can help people, you know.
For sure. Like keep accountability.
Right.
And motivate you to show up. That's really the point. It's because you weren't showing up in this other place. I think you're attributing to this system, right? That it's like these meetings. Like if you had a daily meeting, I guess a daily check-in with your on your team side, even the startup, even if it is 4 people. Yeah. Like you just check in every morning. Yeah. Then I feel like you're right. You would inspire people to stay rooted there. Right. And not kind of what do you call it? Flail about. Right. Yeah. and kind of leaving people to just figure it out, you know. Yeah. That's too dicey.
That's facts. Like I did leave a lot of people at the beginning years. I did leave a lot of people to figure it out themselves.
That's tough. Yeah.
And after, you know, implementing these systems and learning these new things, I just increased my communication more, increased the number of meetings, talking, more WhatsApp calls. Some of our people were in different countries, and just calling them at different times and
right.
reaching them, having the convos.
So you have to, that's real effort. And that's,
you have to put in effort.
That takes like a certain decision making, right? That's a choice that you make.
Right.
Otherwise, a lot of folks don't do this. A lot of folks don't start their own things. They don't, because it's this hard, and my uncle or my older cousin, his dad actually owned his business. If my dad was I told you, solutions engineer. His dad was the salesman who owned the business, the actual storefront.
Oh.
And so, and my dad and my uncle would work pretty close by each other. Anyway, he was telling my older cousin, and my older cousin told me, that if you're the boss, if you're the CEO, if you're the owner, you are the janitor and you are the executive.
Right.
You are doing everything. And that means logistical planning. Like, how is this actually going to function? These are tough things, This takes like a lot of like strategizing. It takes a lot of preparation, strategy that really doesn't have immediate payoff. It's not an immediate reward right there, right? Like you have to implement these systems and then to see them it's a lot. And it does take a certain special individual, present company included, to like actually take these things on. Project management is real.
Absolutely, man. It's like we have so many goals and they're all important to us.
And all important.
Yeah. And we have to like set the standards,
Sure.
And, especially as men in our families, like we have to take it on our backs to like manage some standards so that even the next generation can learn from us. We can't just let it happen. If you let anything happen, just like
leave it happen. Them to figure it out. It's not going
to happen.
No, this is why we're doing this, right? The digital capsule here, like with some pointers about life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we do, like me and my wife, we have these systems in place. And what we did is like my wife also worked in tech in the past, a while ago, but she too learned these things firsthand. And so what we did is like we implemented in the software world, there's a framework called like Agile systems. And so like it's basically a way they've set up the company, and it's called Agile methodology. Like it's just the way things are set up, the teams are set up, and the meetings are set up. It's a kind of a set way to do it. So if you even Googled it, it'll tell you, or like if you go on ChatGPT and ask like, what's the Agile methodology that like software companies use, you'll get like the step-by-step ways that they break down a year into like quarters and like sprints and things that I just told you a short time ago, So like we implemented that in our lives.
So this knowledge is out there.
It's out there. Yeah.
Sure.
And we implemented this into our lives, and I'll try to share some of it in this podcast today. So the first thing we do is like we want to break down the whole year into like 4 quarters, 4 quarters, and then kind of just focus on the current quarter, because I don't want to focus on like what's happening in December 2024.
All the way down there, sure.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about what's happening like next year, like few months from now. Doesn't matter right now. I just want this, But then it's hard to do that, because we have like long-term goals and stuff. And so I say that every person should have like big, hairy, audacious goals. Like, so yeah, this is the acronym BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals.
Why does it have to be hairy?
Because it's going to be annoying and it's going to be like pretty prickly, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But
I see what you mean.
Yeah, you got to start with that, you got to start with having like some big goals so that it drives you towards something. Because like I know a lot of people out there like to, and I've gotten this advice myself in the past, it's like, a lot of people like to reduce the goal so that it's like more achievable,
manageable.
So that it's not so scary. Right, I don't know if I can do this. But like I say, like have the scary goal.
Weak.
Yeah. Then it'll make you stronger.
Exactly.
Then you got to grow. You have the goal that it's like a stretch. It's a stretch goal. You got to grow to get there, and have that goal for the end of the year.
Some of the haters might call it a pipe dream. It's just a big goal.
Right. Yeah, have some like big pipe dreamy type of goals.
Right.
For the end of the year.
Right.
If you're like a dreamer who likes to dream 10 years in advance, do it. But like just focus on the year. So end of this year, what are the big pipe dreams? What are the big hairy audacious goals?
Right.
Because audacious goals moves you forward so much faster than like little ass fucking goals.
Right.
Not gonna do it.
Right.
So yeah, big hairy audacious goals, and then those big goals then have to be achieved. And how do we achieve that? Break it down into these 4 quarters. Like what are we gonna do at the end of quarter 1, and then quarter 2, and 3 and 4 to achieve these. Just this is like a job for like a weekend where you really think about how do we break down the steps. And honestly, even before getting into this, I think the best part is to do like write those big hairy audacious goals and then write the next steps for each of these goals. Like what are these next steps?
Okay.
Because with these next steps comes clarity, and
right.
The reason why we don't tackle our to-do list is of lack of clarity. And so if we know the next steps for each of these projects, then we're better off, And then as we know the next steps for each of them, planted into the year, where do they fall? When do we want to
when do we want to take these steps?
Yeah, when do we want to take these steps? It's it kind of helps to like
you're working backwards.
Yeah, you have to work backwards, and that inspires people to do the job, because otherwise, if you don't know where it's going, if you don't have that vision of like where this is going to end up, it's hard to end up there. It's like you can't get in a car not knowing the destination, not knowing, like even in the GPS, like you enter it to see all the steps, you got to see the steps, you got to see, it's going to take this highway.
Sure,
or that
we're
highway.
going on these.
Yeah. But like without that type of clarity, it's like you'll miss the exits. You're going to have some trouble.
You might overshoot, take the long route.
Yeah. I've done that. I've missed my fucking exit. And sometimes in LA and around here, it's like you miss an exit, man. It's a whole fucking.
Yeah. But I mean, it's worse on the East Coast with these turnpikes. Like, that sometimes they don't even have an opposite ramp on the other side. Right. Like, you're like, wait, where's the other side? There's no other side. It's just. And at least in California, I do appreciate that. But anyway, that's, again, I digress. But yeah, you were saying like, you need to know the steps. You need to be able to see that. That's clarity.
That gives you clarity.
Right.
Every day, every quarter is kind of planned like that. But, you got to be also flexible. You got to say like, this is my like best ideal plan. But like, if it doesn't land like this, it's all good,
Right.
Because all you can do at the end of this and at the end of the day is actually just focus on the day. You can't really focus on the quarter or next quarter, end of the year. You can't. So it's just planning. It's just to get the vision of where you want to go, this year.
Right.
And then like plot the rest, So then each of these quarters are broken down into months, right? Like 3 months makes a quarter. Mm-hmm. So you can like break down these 3 months then,
Easy.
Yeah. It's something nice to do, but like I don't always do that myself. I sometimes leave those 3 months I kind of sometimes just plan the entire month, month by month, instead of like planning the entire 3 months. That's crazy, to me at least. But I think it's a good habit to have.
So you plan month by month, meaning?
I plan the month.
Because I guess the month that you're in right now is going to inform the month moving forward.
Yeah, that's the most important. Yeah.
Sure.
My wife and I, we plot out the month. Okay. What we try to do is like try to put in like figure out the entire schedule, for this month. Not the entire schedule, like the big things, putting family first. What are the family things we need to do?
Sure.
We like to go on long drives or like go see a spot or like a particular new beach that I've been trying to, check out.
Right.
Plot these things into the month. Then plot your, other family, extended family things and things, responsibilities, doctor's appointments,
obligations,
right. Meetings, like things like in your personal life, that you got to connect with people and stuff like that.
Sure.
Kind of try to plot that out, and then also put in your goals, your hobbies, like things that you like to do. Just kind of put it all in that month.
Right.
it's sometimes difficult to see like where everything falls, but like if you can just put in like the big things that you do know about, then you can add the rest later, you know. But
Agreed.
it gives you this vision, some clarity again.
Sure,
you know.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is
That's the
having
point.
a clearer picture,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't look abstract,
Right.
and it looks like you can really take these tangible steps,
Right.
and you'll accomplish something. Something will happen at the end of this. I think it is that, like, for the longest time, I just relied on my mental capacity to be able to keep track of goals and, you know, check them off, and, you know, be able to do status updates all up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is not possible anymore,
No.
especially when life becomes fuller.
Right.
You have to. I was thinking about this the other day when we were thinking about time management. You watched Harry Potter?
Yeah.
And like how, you know, Dumbledore takes the memory out, right,
Mhm.
into the pensieve.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like his mind is stretched. You are going to be stretched, especially as you become more and more successful. Your time is going to be demanded in so many places. You got to have something you can see, so that you can, you know, not go crazy, that like you're just being pulled everywhere. So I do see the inherent value in plotting this out.
Yeah, and the most successful people that I know are super busy, and they're like hard workers with a great work ethic, just like going after their goals one after another. And I think the reason why that is because they're chasing big, hairy, audacious goals that like inspire them, and they have to show up every day for it, because otherwise these big goals won't be done, you know?
Never, yeah.
And so that's the thing, like during these monthly planning sessions, it's important to like check back in with those big goals and see what are the next steps for each of them now. Like what's the next step, the immediate next step, you know? Keep that in mind so that you can go tackle it, you know? And if you can tackle it within that month, put it in there, schedule it in. If you can't tackle it, push it, you know, if it's like something that you can't do within the next 45 days, next 50 days, you don't see yourself tackling this step, push it to the next quarter. Don't even keep it on your, you know, next steps list.
See, that's good, being realistic about what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
But that's also a talent, in my opinion. Like,
it's just like
being able to gauge, right? Like, okay, I can do this, and this quarter, so that we can do that.
Right.
So like it's you do have to figure this out as you go along a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not going to be perfect, but it'll just be easier to like just envision things in your mind, you know?
Sure.
And so if there are tasks that you're not going to do this month and you're not going to do next month, just move it out of this quarter. You're not going to look at it. Maybe even if it feels like it's not happening, even push it the next year, you know, like if it's something that you definitely feel like you're not going to do, remove it, because that's the big problem for most people. It's like, we want to do all of it, you know. Maybe some of them, maybe you can't do this year, maybe, you know, you might have to accept that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And these things happen only if you check in once a month and look at that goal.
Sure.
Like, oh, I haven't moved this goal at all. What are the next steps? And like, I'm not going to do all these next steps. You know, that's a sign you got to move it. You know, it's not going to happen. So, and that's okay. That's a good thing.
But you got to be good at, and not take it to heart.
Yeah.
Be professional about yourself.
Yeah.
That like, this is not about to get emotional, and you're not about to be woe is me because you didn't complete something.
Yeah.
So push it down, but make sure you get to it, you know, and actually do it. That takes some level of personal accountability.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, we all need a person to be accountable with, you know, and, you know, for me, my wife works out real good.
Same.
Yeah. And then if it's not a spouse, then like friends, you know, like getting a friend to be involved would be very nice. I also have a friend who I do check-ins with every month.
Dope.
And the first Thursday of the month, we have a meeting set up already. And it's like, we just talk about certain specific goals. It's like health goal and a professional goal and a spiritual goal.
Right.
These just 3 specific goals that we talk about every month, and we do a check-in. And he doesn't have skin in the game for the things that I'm in. I don't have skin in the game for the things that he's working on. Like he's in another country.
That's
like,
awesome.
He's not even here.
Right.
He's in Canada, you know, and the things he's working on is completely different from what I'm doing. So like I'm not emotionally attached to his goal.
Right.
He's not emotionally attached
You
to
have
mine.
no bearing.
Yeah, there's nothing. Like we're very separate from it. And
Sure.
if I don't do it, it doesn't hurt his things at all.
Right.
So, but it puts us in an interesting position of like having a very non-judgmental conversation about it. Non-biased, non-judgmental.
Right.
It doesn't even matter if you don't do it, bro. But like you said, you would do it. You know, it puts you in that conversation.
Very
That's
simple. Very simple conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an important thing.
To push you forward.
Yeah.
Really. Like this isn't to like make you feel bad. This is to really like push you.
All that it does is gets you thinking about your goal. You know, it's just like it keeps that big goal still like front and center in your mind, you know?
Right.
That you won't just forget it because like life happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't forget it. My buddy's going to call on this Thursday. Fuck.
I want to have something good to tell him. Yeah.
I do look forward to having something to tell him.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, chose the paths that we chose.
Right.
It's an exciting path.
Yeah.
It can be chaotic. It can be uncertain a lot. But you want to be able to have these awesome conversations. And then be able to hear perspectives about them too, that are also interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So that's like the monthly aspect of things. And then what we do, me and my wife, is like we, I was telling you earlier in this episode that like these software companies, this Agile methodology, they do like 2-week sprints.
Right.
They plan out their 2 weeks and then the next 2 and then, just like that.
Right.
What we do is like for us, we tried 2 weeks and 2 weeks was too less of a check-in. And so some of the things that we planned for the 2 weeks fell aside, didn't happen. End of the 2 weeks, it was like, dang it. Now we're like a month late into something that should have been done, It was something like that, at the beginning. And so then we decided that we're going to do week by week. We're going to do 1 week sprints. We're just going to plan our week and then just try to tackle everything that week. Whatever doesn't get done moves to the next week, So we just do 1 week sprints. And so every Sunday, every Saturday, we have a meeting in our calendar where we just like take quick 20 minutes to like discuss like what went well, what didn't go well, what should we do better.
Take inventory.
Yeah, take inventory. And then what meetings do you have next week?
Dope.
That's like not already on the calendar or something, Also, even the ones that are already on the calendar, we actually talk about those too. Yeah, next week we've got this on Tuesday and then Thursday. And then
reminding each other that we have these things coming up.
Yeah, we got the doctor's appointment. We got the Wednesday podcast, on all this stuff.
Right.
It's all kind of planned. And then she's also my business partner. So then sometimes we're also talking about business. We're talking about the next like steps to be taken for the agency.
Actual deals.
Yeah, what can we, all these kind of things, it just all comes in. Sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes an hour, but usually it's short. We try to keep it short,
Right.
And it's something that we can do while, our son is playing in the same room, like playing, doing his thing, and we just discuss everything.
We interface right there. It doesn't have to be super formal.
Yeah.
Especially when you're coming from, like, you're living with the folks that you're doing business with.
Right.
I think you can communicate, and it's already overlapped, like the things, these are all layered relationships. I don't think it's important to like, always separate and kind of consolidate. And he's playing over there doing his thing. Like we could quickly go over this.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it moves things along, which is really important.
Yeah.
It moves things along. You need to have some objective feedback.
Right.
No matter what you're doing.
Yeah. And a lot of times, we can put in, tasks to do throughout the week that doesn't get done. A lot of times it happens where it's like these 5 things didn't get done this week, like should have done it, didn't do it. And then we just, take inventory of that and just schedule it in next week,
Right.
At least it gives us the opportunity to face that. Sometimes it's like with certain, like not even projects, but like just life stuff, like where you have to send in a mail thing or send in something in the mail or, taxes or something. It's just like, you don't want to do it. Doesn't get done.
Procrastinating.
Everything else gets more prioritized than that stupid letter,
Sure.
But like it still has to get done. So then end of the week, at least on Saturday, somebody's asking me like, hey, did you get this one done? It's like, nah, damn it.
Right.
All right. Next week we definitely got to do it. And then I've had moments where it's like, I've missed it for weeks and then finally done it, But But like you gotta like deploy like self-love and like be understanding, because like
Sure.
yeah, it does get busy, but like you
Yeah.
just checking in regularly helps to make sure that you kind of get most of the things done, you know.
Right.
Yeah, as needed, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. And then for, you know, that like kind of plans our weeks, but then there's a daily thing, you know, because if you don't do the shit daily, then you're fucked, you know.
Right.
Then it doesn't happen, you know. So
Yeah.
so yeah, we use Notion now to like plan our weeks.
Oh, it's okay. We're talking about application.
Yeah,
Right.
application. And so like I'll kind of go through a little bit of how we do Notion, but like people out there can use different project management applications out there. It's
Right.
like there's Notion, there's Monday, there's ClickUp, there's a whole Asana, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all really good. You know, I like Notion because it's kind of new and it's simple and it's not expensive, and there's a free version. And so like all of that makes it a winner.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, very simple, you know, so that makes it a winner.
Yeah, making things easier
Yeah.
to manage is really important.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. I think it was with ClickUp.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's great, but it's a lot of stuff.
Right.
There's like a lot.
Yeah.
And you can do you could go about this many different ways.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think what you're talking about simplifies your life.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in Notion, like you can like put in the tasks that you have to do throughout the week in a nice way, and you can also schedule it. So it's kind of cool, you know. It helps. But then so that kind of plans my daily tasks, you know. But every day I have to look at my, you know, Notion. I have to set time aside to like sit down with my list of things to do today, you know,
Okay.
and go over it and prioritize it and see, you know, what comes of it, you know.
Sure.
Like that, because if I don't check in on it every day,
Yeah.
then I get in this cycle of just doing just whatever comes in that day, you know, whatever comes to my mind in that day, or like whatever feels the most urgent, you know, dealing with certain clients, having those conversations. Oh, they need this right now. Let's go make this, you know.
Right.
But if I have it like, if I'm like more particular about it, if I set aside some time in the morning to go through this list, then it's like I have control over it. You know,
Yeah.
the day doesn't take me.
You
I
yeah,
take the day,
right.
you know?
You dictate the pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
And that's why I wake up early, so that I can have this time to like just think and breathe and, you know, pray, meditate, and then like look at my stuff.
your day out.
Plan my day. And I do two things to plan my day.
Okay.
I feel like as I'm saying this, I feel like, damn, this is a lot of fucking things. But it's like, I don't know, it works
Yeah.
for me, you know,
Yeah,
like
sure.
it just helps like break down large projects and large things into small bite-sized pieces, you know?
Sure.
Because all these tasks that I'm maintaining every day is like little bite pieces from the big, hairy, audacious goals, you know?
Right.
It's like if you set a big goal at the beginning, and then like all these steps, you know, it's for that, you know? Every day
Agreed.
it's like you're doing something for that, you know?
Agreed.
That's why you want to do it, you know? And when I wake up in the morning, man, today I didn't want to wake up. Like I wake up usually by 4:30, I'm up. And it's like today I didn't want to do it. I was like, fuck that.
That is so early.
But the first thought that came to my head was like, oh, but I have those things to do that I wrote down, and all of those are steps towards the dream. You know, like I have to do the dream. I don't get to choose.
Up, ref.
Yeah, I don't get to choose
Get your
this
ass
bedtime
up.
right now.
Yeah.
I
Gotta make these hits.
I gotta show up. You know.
Yeah.
But like my daily planner, man. Look at this. I have this
Oh damn.
daily planner. This is crazy.
This is actual pen and paper. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if y'all
I have two options.
remember.
I have two options. I'll tell you that.
Wow.
What is this?
It is filled up here.
And it's like, it's like, you know, this type of shit. Weekly review.
Wow.
Weekly stuff like that.
Damn, this looks like a workbook from school, man.
Right.
This is wild.
Daily tasks, all go
Color
in there.
coded.
Yeah. Top 3 goals. Today's message.
Okay.
You know, task that has to be done today.
Okay.
Things like that all go in there. You know.
Yeah.
It gives me that clarity, and so like I check in on that in the morning, I write things. And then at night, I don't always get to this one, but like at night, I try to go back, look at the list. What do we get done? And then what's important for tomorrow? You know, write those kind of things down. It like really helps. I have a gamified version of this as well. It's an app called Finch. Finch is like digital pet. Do you remember like Tamagotchis?
Yeah,
like,
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, that shit was like crazy.
That
right?
shit was wild. Everybody was taking care of these little
every-
digital animals
Yes.
hanging off your keychain.
Yeah.
Never had one myself, but yeah.
It was the whole thing in
remember
the
that.
2000s.
Yeah.
Man, and it's crazy. It's wild, man. I actually made this reference to a Gen Z kid recently. And I was like, man, it's like a Tamagotchi. And the guy was like, I heard about that from somebody. I don't know.
You aged yourself out right there.
What is that again? Yeah. And I was like, oh, I aged myself hell fast. Okay. Walk back.
Yeah, you still feel like a kid, though. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of doing things that you love and that
Yeah.
you're passionate about. You never stop feeling like a kid.
Right. Right.
And you don't forget about the times that really, impacted you. So
Yeah.
you might reference it and then you realize like, oh shit, I'm not a kid anymore. But that's the beautiful part about getting older.
You're right. You're right.
That's dope.
So this Finch app is like
Yeah.
basically this type of Tamagotchi app type thing. You take care of Finch, who like is born as a like an egg from an egg, and then it grows. But it grows by you like writing a daily list of tasks. Every time you complete a task,
Oh god.
is like feeding it. It's like
yo.
taking it for a walk.
Manipulative as
Dude,
fuck.
it's crazy.
This is a life we're talking about now.
Yeah,
A
it's-
Finch hangs in the balance.
Right.
Pending your goals.
Yeah,
Shit.
it's amazing because it's
Yeah?
like gamified as fuck, and
It
it's
is.
like they have like these big goals too that you can break down, and you can have projects in there. It's crazy, but it's a game.
Yeah.
It's an app that's a game, and it's
Wow.
like I love it. I love Finch.
Sure.
It's just crazy. I named my Finch Heffalump from the Winnie the Pooh movies, but
Oh shit.
it's wild. But like
That's hella
it
funny.
helps me like gamify the shit and like just like go throughout the day have
You
something
enjoy
to
it
fuck
some
with.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it.
So yeah, that's like those are the kind of things that keeps track of every single day that you got to do the things, and so that helps like feel like you have some level of control over your day,
Yep.
and it prevents the feeling of like, oh, the day's just going by and like I'm just
Getting
riding
away
with-
from you.
Yeah, just getting away from you.
Yeah. Or you're just riding it along,
Yeah.
seeing what happens, and you don't really have a control on the outcome.
Yeah.
When those things, when you kind of take it on that way, but if you have some look ahead, in terms of this is happening here, this is happening there, and like it does take a level of effort from yourself though, right? To check in, to like make that a priority. That let me go look. Let me not shy away from all of the stuff that I do have to do. Let me take in the totality of this and, take it bite by bite like you did, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You break it from, what was it? You break it from quarters
Yeah.
to monthly,
Yep.
to weekly, to daily,
Yep.
to hourly, I guess, like.
Sort of, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I like to keep some flexibility in my hours, and so like I try to like not schedule in, like not put the blocks of time like too stringent, because sometimes when I'm working on something it may take a little longer. I want to be flexible with that, but
keeping buffer time.
yeah, buffer times, yeah. And then other people operate better when they have like no buffer time and like very particular hours.
I think when you have a level of predictability to your enterprise and to what you're doing and all of that, then I think that's where that comes in, where it's like, okay, I can plot out at least 8 to 4 every day because I'm going to need to do that, and that.
Right.
So like, I think that's where it comes with scale. It comes as you progress. But I think you're right about being elastic.
Right.
And not falling into that trap of trying to get every little, minute down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the daily goals, the daily tasks are all defined by like these big goals, big, hairy, audacious goals. Like it'll make you do the things you want to have to do every day. And then those big goals also help you see what like finished looks like, in your head. Like what is finished? Like what does it feel like? What does it look like when we've done this already? That helps you like think about your year, think about your month, think about your week, because like then you know what finish looks like. What is the next step that I got to take to get closer to this finish line? Otherwise you just don't know. You're just like running. And it's like you can't let life run you. You know, you got to run life yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the important part. Those are the systems that we follow, like me and my wife, and like in all the organizations, like, you know, like working with Unfiltered and Pod Blast, like, you know how these, like, some of these systems work, where it's like weekly cadence, you know, and
welcomed,
right,
full-heartedly, you know, like this is stuff that this is stuff that provides structure to your life,
right,
and helps you feel fulfilled at the end of the day.
Yes.
That you've checked off certain things. And ultimately, that's what I think everybody's looking for, is a sense of fulfillment and a sense of accomplishment. And even if it's small goals, even if it's, you know, like, I needed to go put fertilizer on the lawn, like, check it off. You did it. You know, like, so like building that, we talked about that early on, building that habit of accomplishments, you know.
Right.
So like, even if they're big or small, but it's important to plot them down. It's important to check in. It's important to also be elastic. Man, there's a balance. There's a lot of stuff.
Right. Yeah. And progress makes perfect. You know, it's people say, you know, practice makes perfect. That makes sense, but you'll never be perfect. Progress is what helps us get closer to perfection, like slowly. Because if we have progress, then we're going to keep going, and we're going to keep believing in the dream. We're going to keep showing up every day if there's little progress, you know. But if there's no progress, that's when we get disheartened. That's when, like, procrastination shows up, and that's when it's like, what's the point anyway? I don't see any progress, you know. So you got to show, like, little progress every day. And if you have these systems in place, it just feels like progress, even if it's a few steps back some days, you know. You still feel like progress, because, like, that Finch app is, like, keeping you excited, and, like, your Notion is, like, you're, like, moving things around, and, like, you're doing it, you know. You're doing things. It's just progress, you know. Progress keeps people going. Well, awesome, man. That's all I have today.
Hell yeah, bro.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna see you next week.
Yes, sir.